Hey everybody, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a fun project for Vicky Booten design team. I'm actually going to make what I'm going to call a little bit of a kaleidoscope background using some of Vicky's new gel crayons as well as the original art crayons. And so I just have some transparency here that I have cut down, and I'm just loading each of the different pieces up with different gel crayon colors as well as the art crayon colors. I'm just going to get those kind of all ready. I thought this might be enough to do the whole page, but I was sorely mistaken. I ended up having to mix colors throughout, which was totally fine. It doesn't take long anyway, but I did want to have a good amount of paint kind of ready to go for what I was going to do. So I loaded up each of these kind of plastic sheets here, as you can see, with a variety of colors. I'm going to use a bit of a rainbow kind of effect for this, but of course you could do this in any sort of color palette that you chose. So I wanted to mix the gel crayons with the art crayons because the gel crayons are a little more, I'm going to say, watercolory. They're very light versus the art crayon, although are very light as well, have that a little slightly more opaque color to them. And all I'm doing, as you can see, is I have a round paintbrush here, and I'm just loading up whatever particular color I want for my design, and I am literally dabbing the paint on in little tiny dots. I'm not going to lie, this probably took me about 45 minutes to do the whole page, which, you know, in retrospect, really isn't that long for the amount of little tiny dots that I did for the whole design. But it can actually go kind of quickly. So I started off my bottom section there. This is on foundations paper, by the way. I started off with some of the pinks, and then I went into the orange, yellow. I'm going to do green. I gradually will obviously work my way through the rainbow, but I am mixing between the gel crayons as well as the art crayons, and that's just going to give me a little bit more depth of color and a bit of variety too. So you can see I'm doing some that are larger, some that are smaller, and I'm just using the one same paintbrush throughout just to make it a little bit quicker. But I suppose if you really wanted, you could change from a smaller paintbrush to a larger one, kind of depending how you're going. And I am doing little droplets of water on top of this. So there is not tons of water. It's not big puddles of water on the page, but the foundations paper takes water decently well. So I am just doing some tiny little droplets to make my design. And you can see I'm kind of just crisscrossing the colors as I go. I'm trying to, match them up nicely so that there's a nice formation as I kind of went along the design. So I'm just going to continue this same pattern. As you can see, I've continued this. I'm about probably 1/3 of the way, almost halfway through the design. And again, you could do this in less colors than I chose, but I wanted to use a good variety. So there's my whole page completed. I didn't end up doing 100% of the page. I did decide I am going to trim this down into some circles to use almost like a bit of a pattern paper. This is far too busy for me, at least, to use as a background on a page, mostly because I used a rainbow of colors. I think if you did a bit of a 3-tone kind of ombre choice of colors, you definitely could use this as part of a layout or even a background for a card. I think would look super cool for this too, and I may just try that later on, but for now I'm just going to go with what I have here. This was actually inspired by my 12-year-old daughter, who was just fooling around with her own watercolor paint set one day and started making a dot design like this, and I thought, I'm going to try that with art crayons because I think that would look super cool. Anyway, I am using a heat gun for this. I don't recommend you use a heat gun. You can see I kind of made a bit of a blob for the red there. If you have time and you're a little more patient than I am, it's probably best just to let this sit for a while and then dab it off with a paper towel. But again, I'm cutting this down, so I don't expect it to be super perfect, and I can always do some layering with embellishments and stuff where there might be an imperfection. I am going to give this a go just to flatten it out a bit through my laminator a few times. And then I did cut some 3-inch circles with my silhouette machine. And you can see here I'm adding foam tape to the back of those circles. And before I did the foam tape, I did off camera, of course, sew around the outer edge. You can kind of see on the back side. I just wanted to add a little bit of extra texture and then use these to build a bit of a kind of a grid on my page. Foam tape I'm using is a Scotch tape that I just honestly get off Amazon. I like it because I can just rip it to the size that I want. It's not too bulky, so if you want to have a little bit of height but not too much, it's kind of good for that. So I'm just going to lay these circles out kind of on this white cardstock to start, to kind of get my idea of what I want to do here. I am going to stick these down, and then I'll tell you right now, I did stick all of these down, but I'm abruptly going to take them off because I felt like it was just too white. Even though there's a lot of pattern there from the dots, I wanted a little bit more color. So this, I think, is probably one of my favorite pieces of pattern paper from Color Study for a background. I actually used this on a layout just a week or two ago already. Actually, I think it was last week. And didn't realize I did two layouts back to back with the same paper, but again, because of the circles, it's going to make it look a little bit different. And again, I'm just making a grid with my circles. No fancy way to do that other than use a bit of a ruler and lay them out however you want. And again, with the circles on the page, it does take a while to kind of get that pattern done, but I think it looks pretty cool. I would love to have done these in a flower, but I think I've done a lot of flowery pages lately, so I'm trying to avoid that. But anyways, I think this looks a lot better on that turquoise ombre sort of background than the plain white. It was just a little bit too stark. I am going to add a few little black drops of ink because that's kind of what I do right now. And I do think it's going to help that color just pop a little bit even more on the background. So I'm going to set that aside to dry because that ink does take a bit to dry. I did have this photo kind of all ready to go from a project I thought I was going to do, this rainbow kind of project, and I decided against it, so I'm going to use that. I'm just going to layer a few more scraps here from my 6x8 Color Study paper pad. I love this purple, and I'm not a purple person, so I will use it when I can. I had already layered foam adhesive to the back of this photo previously when I thought I was going to use it, and really wanted to add more paper behind it first before I did that again. So I'm going to go through the whole process again of adding foam tape behind that, but that's okay. I did have a large paper clip from my stash that I added. I think I just got that at like the office supply store or some place like Target a while ago, but I thought that was kind of neat just to embellish the photo. And then I thought about using this title here from the ephemera pack. I pulled that out, but I think I'm going to go ahead and either try to do a bit of a mixed title between these Color Study alphas, or mix it up a little bit with that scripty kind of font from the ephemera with the letter. Of course, they're rainbow letters, so how could I not use rainbow in the rainbow? I am putting some foam adhesive just behind them just to get them to pop up to be the same height, roughly, as those foamed up circles. So I am doing that so they're kind of popping a little bit. And I think I'm going to put this So Excited here, but I'll be honest with you, I end up taking it away. I feel like it just was a little bit too much crowding on my photo there. Photo's only a 4x3-ish photo, so it's not super large. And I feel like that was just, the title itself was just taking things over a little bit too much. So I'm going to rip that off in about 3 minutes, but we'll get going with some other embellishments. There's some really cool vellum embellishments, there I go, with that title, in the ephemera pack. And so I thought that would be neat to have here beside my rainbow title to kind of point out the rainbow. So I'm going to add that. Of course, I use a million photo tabs, so I'm going to do that to frame out my photo a little bit. And then I thought about adding in this big sticker, but again, same kind of problem as the ephemera. It was just a little bit too big for my photos. I feel like it was overtaking, although I did like that color there. It was kind of nice, but this floral cluster I had left over kind of just fits perfectly in there to tuck in around the back side of my photo to add a little bit of extra layer. And so I'm just trying to dig around now to see what other things I can add. I'm not going to go too crazy with things because that dotted background is a little bit busy. I am going to take off this sticker though because it doesn't fit. And so I decided to use a little strip of the ephemera there tucked underneath my photo. It's a bad angle right now, but you can read the image that it says there. It says capture it all. I did love these little pie chart stickers that are on the sticker sheet I hadn't used yet. So I'm going to tuck a few of those circles in amongst my grouping here just to kind of add a little bit more embellishment. And I cascade those kind of across the middle of the page. I thought about using this black asterisk here. I am going to move that. I thought about the camera. Again, it's really hard to pick things sometimes when you just love all the icons. And Color Study has like probably one of my most favorite set of different icons in a collection. I love the pie charts, I love the flowers, I love the stars and the arrows and the little gold dots. Like I love all the little things. The little cameras that are in this collection are cool too. So it's hard sometimes just to tone down what you want to pick and only pick certain things and not go too crazy. Otherwise it could be cuckoo like coconuts. So I'm just going to add a couple little more bits here, and I think I'm almost done with the layers. I'm going to add a few more smaller stickers, just spread out that flower a little bit more with the pie charts, and that is how it all came together. So you can see here a little bit of a close-up of that. I'm going to call it Kaleidoscope technique with the art crayons and the gel crayons. Super fun. Yeah, it does take a little bit of time, so you have to be a little bit of patient, but I do really like how it turned out. I think it's kind of fun, something different. And I think I might use this again just in a different kind of way. This is how the whole thing came together. So I'm going to really hope that you give this one a try. And if you do, please share it with us in the Facebook group. Bye-bye. Oops.